with that, let's get started. There's only, so just so you know, for C.S. Lewis, he's the author of the Screwtape Letters and the Chronicles of Narnia. He was friends with J.R.R. Tolkien. Like, he's, this is like old school writing. And for me personally, I didn't necessarily love the book of poems. I felt it didn't necessarily resonate with me. I didn't really feel deeply moved by it, but I still, I didn't know what to expect. And so I wasn't like wowed when I read it, but I'm still glad that I got through it, and I have just a couple of poems to share, and then from that we will, see where the conversation goes, and then take it from there. So the first poem, if you happen to have the book, it's on page 55. It's called Evolutionary Hymn. So I'll read it, and then we'll talk about, why exactly I like this poem. All right, so lead us, evolution, lead us, up the future's endless stair. Chop us, change us, prod us, weed us, for stagnation is despair. Groping, guessing, yet progressing, lead us nobody knows where. Wrong or justice in the present, joy or sorrow, what are they? While they're always jammed tomorrow, while we tread the onward way, never knowing where we're going, we can never go astray. To whatever variation our posterity may turn, hairy, squashy, or crustacean, bulbous-eyed or square of stern, tusked or toothless, mild or ruthless, towards that unknown God we yearn. Ask not if it's God or devil, brethren, lest your words imply static norms of God and evil, as in Plato, throned on high, such scholastic, inelastic, abstract yardsticks we deny. Far too long have sages vainly glossed great nature's simple text. He who runs can read it plainly. Goodness, what comes next? By evolving, life is solving all the questions we perplexed. On then, value means survival, value. If our progeny spreads and spawns and licks each rival, that will prove its deity far from pleasant by our present standards, though it well may be. So, again, that poem is called Evolutionary Hymn by C.S. Lewis. For me, this poem stuck out to me because I find that so much of what I love about life and what I love about entrepreneurship and just new ventures is this idea that you have to constantly keep evolving. You have to constantly keep pushing and learning, and you have to be a lifelong learner. It's the only way to really evolve as a human being, as a business person, as a leader in this world. You can't stop learning. If you're not learning, you're not living, right? And you can quote me on that. And what I loved about this poem is, and we can go through different segments, is, I really like this part of, ask not if it's God or devil, brethren, lest your words imply static norms of good and evil, right? As in Plato, throned on high, such scholastic, inelastic, abstract yardsticks we deny. I think there's a lot there. I think you could interpret that any different kind of way that you would like to. But I think, just today, actually, I saw a post about fortune and kind of in relation to God. And I think sometimes when we are thinking about our own evolutions and we're thinking about our own progressions in life, we look external and we look for, what the heavenly projection is for us. But really, if you start to understand a bit more about like law of attraction, which I'm a big proponent and practitioner of the law of the secret, the law of attraction and the secret essentially is that if you're not aware of that, just go on dressingyourmate.com on my recommendations. The Secret is the first book there, so you can check that out. It's a phenomenal book. It changed my life. It changes most people's lives when you read it. And it's really understanding this idea that like thoughts become things, right? And when we're talking in the construct of evolution and what is evolution all about, you need to think about, well, why am I evolving, right? And so you're evolving in your business. Well, why do you want this, right? What's your driving purpose for what you're doing and what you need to be doing? And it has nothing to do with anyone. It has nothing to do with a God, with a devil, with deities, right? It's a you journey, right? The evolutionary hymn is a hymn that is sung within you. It is a hymn that is dictated and written and sung by you. And so I think for me, this really resonated because it's hard, right? It's a hard journey. It can be filled, it not can be, it is filled with ups and downs. And sometimes you want to cry. Sometimes you want to jump for joy. Sometimes you don't know how to feel, right? But at the end of the day, there's always tomorrow, right? If you're blessed to be alive and to wake up to it. And, you know, it's a journey, right? But I think that really resonated with me, that this journey of evolution, this journey of entrepreneurship, this journey of progress is an internal journey, right? And no matter how hard or how easy it is for you, it is still a solo thing, right? Whether you have team members, whether you have a whole company behind you, at the end of the day, you have to have your own internal evolutionary hymn within you that you sing. So I really like that. Another part of the poem that I really like is the end part. So I'll reread it again. By evolving, life is solving all the questions we perplexed on then. Value means survival, value. If our progeny spreads and spawns and licks each rival, that will prove its deity. Far from pleasant by our present standards, though it well may be. Right? So what's that mean? So I think kind of it's speaking to the idea of like, if you are successful, what is the legacy that you're leaving for your progeny, right? The people that come after you. I think that's something that I get from it. Also, I think it's talking the line about spreads and spawns and licks each rival. So this idea of competition, right? And that's so like, so on target with business and who are you in the competition of? And again, if you are a practitioner of The Secret and the law of attraction, you know that the only person you're ever in competition with is yourself. It doesn't matter what other people and other businesses and other entities are doing. What is the standard that you need to live up to is a standard set by you, and you will either meet it or not meet it. It has nothing to do with anyone else. So that I think was interesting, because it's like, even though that's the standard you may have for yourself, society is what? Society's always going to compare you. How is Amazon doing compared to eBay, compared to this, right? Like that's just kind of how the beast of media and the beast of society works, but you don't have to allow that beast to run you ragged or run you into the ground. It's still up to you. So those are some of the things that I liked the most. Yeah, nothing really else. So there's that. And then the next poem I'd like to talk about in the book, and there's a lot. This is about 100 and, let's see, how many pages? The book is 142 pages. So it's a very quick read. So if you are looking for that like old English fix, this is definitely your jam. This wasn't my jam. Generally speaking, I have, since reading this, have realized that I don't know. I don't know if old English poetry really gets me. I think I'm more of a Maya Angelou kind of gal, where I think for me, and I'll talk about this after we do this poem, kind of why certain poetry resonates more with me and what I'm really looking for out of poetry. But let me read you. So this is on page 123. It's called Love's as Warm as Tears. So love's as warm as tears, love is tears, pressure within the brain, tension at the throat, deluge, weeks of rain, haystacks afloat, featureless seas between, hedges where once was green. Love's as fierce as fire, love is fire, all sorts, infernal heat, clinkered with greed and pride, lyric desire, sharp, sweet, laughing, even when denied. And that empirical flame whence all love's came. Love's as fresh as spring, love is spring. Bird sung, hung in the air, cool smells in a wood, whispering, dare, dare, to sap, to blood, telling ease, safety, rest, are good, not best. Love's as hard as nails, love is nails, blunt, thick, hammered through the medieval nerves of one who, having made us, knew the thing he had done, seeing with all that is, our cross and his. There's a lot in that poem. That's why I chose it. So I hope you guys like my poetry reading. I haven't necessarily done a lot of that in public, but definitely up for a challenge. Like I said, I started this in a bit of a puddle of tears, so why not push the limits and see what else I can do? So I don't know if you, I'll read it again, just in case anyone like missed anything. I'll do it again. So this is again, love's as warm as tears. Love's as warm as tears, love is tears, pressure within the brain, tension at the throat, deluge, weeks of rain, haystacks afloat, featureless seas between hedges where once was green. Love's as fierce as fire, love is fire, all sorts, infernal heat, clinkered with greed and pride, lyric desire, sharp, sweet, laughing, even when denied, and that imperial flame whence all loves came. Love's as fresh as spring, love is spring. Bird sung hung in the air, cool smells in a wood, whispering, dare, dare, to sap to blood, telling ease, safety, rest, are good, not best. Love's as hard as nails, love is nails, blunt, thick, hammered through the medieval nerves of one who, having made us, knew the thing he had done, seen with all that is, our cross and his. Rough, right? There's like a lot to deconstruct there. So we'll go through each part. So love's as warm as tears, right? So what is C.S. Lewis talking about there? So who's ever cried when in love? Right? Over and over. And for me, I'm happy to say, and I probably will cry again. I always cry when talking about Khalil. Shout out to my beautiful husband, Khalil. I mostly cry from, I'm going to try to hold it together. I mostly cry from just like immense gratitude and immense thankfulness. Woo! Okay. And just so grateful and so happy with the love that I have found in my life. So I cry from that. But I think from this passage of love's as warm as tears, love is tears, pressure for within the brain, tension at the throat, deluge, weeks of rain, haystacks afloat, featureless sea between hedges where once was green. I think what he is talking about here is this idea where what if you aren't necessarily in a good place with your lover, right? What about those moments when you kind of are fighting, or you're just not like vibing on the same, wavelength, for those of you in relationships or have been in relationships, right? This idea where you want one thing, your significant other wants another thing, you're not kind of having a meeting of the minds, as they like to say. And so where do you go, right? So you start to build tension between you and this partner, and eventually it breaks. And some of us break down in tears, some of us break down in rage, right? And it's interesting because when we first start, typically, right, not all relationships, but when you first start, everything is green, right? Everything is happy, and there's sunflowers, and there's ice cream, and smile, and kisses, and hugs, and it's this kind of this beautiful birthing of this like new thing in your life, and you can't even describe it. You can't stop smiling. You just are just like, oh my God, this is the best thing since sliced bread, right? And then what happens? Then you start to live with the person, or you start to live in the world with this person, and that's when there's some haystacks, there's some rain, sometimes there's tornadoes, right? Like it gets real. And then that's where you have to decide kind of where do you go from here, right? And so if the relationship continues, obviously you have that making up period, or as in some cases I've seen, you push down that crap, and then you pretend to move over, and you keep having these push down moments until you eventually explode, and maybe you're no longer together, or maybe you have other types of ways of acting out those issues. But it's interesting. So I think that's really what he's talking about, the moments of despair and the moments of true anguish in your relationships. And I think most relationships, not all, but most, have those moments of like right? Like you're like, listen, you tried it. I'm so tired. And so you have to decide what's next. Now, the love's as fierce as fire. Love is fire, all sorts, infernal heat, clinkered with greed and pride, lyric desire, sharp, sweet, laughing, even when denied, and that imperial flame whence all loves came. So I think this part is talking about the flames that one shares with your lover or your partner. I think, you know, all sorts infernal heat, right? I think that's talking about kind of that sexual desire, that intimacy, that like, oh, can't get enough of you. You driving them crazy hot. They driving you crazy hot. You start to explore each other inside and out, if you get my drift. And sometimes it's sweet, sometimes it's sharp, sometimes, right? Like, so that kind of sexual evolution that happens in a relationship, which is really interesting and definitely something that would be new for me to talk about. I mean, I like to pretend to be like, ooh la la, but like talking about sexuality, that's probably something I haven't necessarily talked a lot about on social media. So if that is something you guys are interested in having more context and content around that, definitely let me know. I always love reading about some sexy hot books. I haven't read the 50 Shades of Grey fully. I've read like most of the first one. I have to like revisit that. But I used to, when like in the beginning of college, I was like into reading erotica and I felt filthy after. So I kind of backed away from that genre. But put in the comments if that's something that you're interested in. We can always add that for, I believe 2019 is all set for all the books we're reading this year, but let me know, because before you know it, I'll be planning up 2020. So I will add. The next part of the poem, which is interesting, is love's as fresh as spring, right? Love is spring, birdsong hung in the air, cool smells in a wood, whispering dare, dare, to sap, to blood, telling ease, safety, rest are good, not best. What is that about? So I think that's talking about kind of a renewal, right? When maybe daring yourself to do new things, daring yourself to date someone that you wouldn't normally date. Maybe also, you know, the time of love, right? So we're in like springtime here in the New York tri-state area. And with it, I'm just loving seeing New York like this. I mean, it'll be nice to departure from the state when the state is looking so beautiful. I like when New York looks like this. It's like pretty and it's like, you know, still too cold for me. But yeah, no. It's still so pretty, and it makes me happy to see the flowers and the blooming all around, especially like, yeah, that makes me really happy. It's really pretty. So I think that reminds me of that section, and like, you know, daring yourself and fresh and renewal. I think that's kind of what that segment is a little bit about. And then the last part is, which is interesting, love's as hard as nails. Love is nails, blunt, thick, hammered through the medieval nerves of one who, having made us, knew the thing he had done, seen with all that is our cross and his. So what is that referring to? Clearly talking about Jesus and clearly talking about God, right? The medieval nerves of one who, having made us, knew the thing he had done, seeing with all that is our cross and his. So the medieval nerves of one, right? So one deity, one God, and then the thing he had done, right? So in Christianity, man is made in the image of God, right? So this idea that human beings, our life, everything with us is a reflection of God, right? And what our creator wanted for us, if that's a belief system that you are also familiar with and or believe in. And seeing with all that is our cross and his. So the cross that Jesus had to die on, right, is a similar cross that we have to bear. And also you could maybe interpret that as that because according to Christian belief, right, that because God gave his only begotten son, right, for us to live, for us to have promise and life and freedom, that, you know, we should think about that, right? What is the cross that we bear as human beings for what was given on our behalf for us, right? So that's kind of beautiful, actually, and kind of really simplistically just lovely. I like that. That's really, you know, that's interesting. So for me, at least, that's how I interpret it based on my Christian background and kind of what I'm getting from it, but I love lyrically. I mean, C.S. Lewis is, I mean, obviously like a beloved author and creator. So much, right, has come from authors like him. But it's interesting because our writing is so different now, and how we express ourselves is so different. But that's, it's pretty. So there's some interesting ones. There's some poems in here where you really have to like read it with a dictionary, because you're like, huh? Like, what? Like you just don't understand what's being said. So, a part of me was, a little bit kind of frustrated with that, but not because it's like, oh, I have to open up a dictionary. No, that's a good thing, because it means you're learning, right? And it means that you're expanding your vocab. That's an excellent thing. But I guess for me, the overall disappointment was that the poems didn't necessarily speak to me. They spoke to things that I think were important to him, or important for that time period, or important for humanity. And I have found, after reading this and thinking in context of other poetry that I've read, that I guess for me, I truly do enjoy poetry that's maybe not written for others, but written for me, right? And written, when I read the words of someone like Maya Angelou, a Black woman who had tremendous strength and tremendous intellect and beauty and grace, and just she was amazing. I could cry just talking about her, because she was definitely someone I always wanted to meet, and amazing. So with that, I guess I would say, we're pretty much at the end, near the end of April. So if you haven't read any poetry, I encourage you to take a moment to look up your favorite poet. And if you can't even like kind of think about a favorite poet of yours, then just Google like National Poetry Month and see what poets or top poets. Pick a poet and read some stuff, right? Like, get down and kind of enjoy a moment of different type of expression. I think poetry always makes me feel, right, in a way that's very deep, and it makes me cry, it makes me ponder, it makes me appreciate creativity and writing in a whole new way. So I just encourage you to do that, because I think, as we have months that go on and on and on, it's important that we make sure that we're absorbing and taking in new content. It's not always about just reading blogs or reading about SEO or like reading about professional development, right? It's also about making sure that we're enjoying creative writing, and that we're taking in time to reflect and enjoy creative expression in its truest form. And I think poetry is something that will always stand the test of time, because there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. It's not like rap, right? I know rap like derives from it, right, or is maybe a cousin of poetry, but poetry is a beautiful art form. And so if you haven't, I definitely encourage you to do that. Would I recommend you read the C.S. Lewis poems book? Only if you, like I said, if Old English poetry is your jam, then this will be your jam. If not, if you are more of a modern kind of poet or spoken word artist, and you're looking for some like interesting present non-dated context, then I don't think this will give it to you. But if you're looking to dive deep into something that's maybe different and will make you think about life and humanity and Christianity and soul and love in a new way, then I think this will be your jam. So with that, I think I'm pretty much nearly done. I guess I would also just recommend that you check out what the May, the May book club meeting will be taking place, I believe, soon. So I can actually give you that date. And let me tell you. So the May book club meeting will be, let's see. Where is that? Okay. Yeah. So that is taking place on May 3rd. So yeah, that's like next week. We're going to be talking about The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I struggle with that person's name. So he's obviously deeply beloved, right? And a great author. But the kicker with this is it's not The Alchemist, the novel, but it's actually the graphic novel that I read and wanted to talk about. And I will talk about why I chose the graphic novel version of it and what I got from it. It'll be a fun session. And we'll see if there'll be tears for that session too. Sometimes when you're in your feelings, you're just right. You're like, I'm in my feelings. But guys, it was hard. Yeah. If anyone is a Young and Restless fan, I know today is a hard day for you as well. It's just, I just wish Christophe St. John, his family, well wishes and prayers again for John Singleton. I hope he gets out of that coma. That's incredibly difficult news to hear. So with that, check out the May book club meeting. It'll be May 3rd, guys. So check that out. I can't wait. And where do you get all the information? Obviously, dressingroom8.com. If you have any follow-up questions or thoughts or comments or anything I've said that has moved you, that has sparked something in you, please don't keep it to yourself. Please share them in the comment section. I do these lives in over and over and over and over again, because I want to make sure that I'm giving you content that you need, as well as content that provokes you to say your 2 cents on things, right? We have to constantly have a dialogue, and there's never a moment in time where we can't talk about things, where we don't have things to discuss. Always something to discuss, always something to tear about, always something to smile about, just always. All right. So as always, it's a pleasure. It's been fun. It's been real. It's been interesting. And definitely please make sure before the end of the month you read a poem or two and celebrate National Poetry Month. And I just thank you for your time and your attention to this. And I hope to hear from you soon. And I hope you come back for the May Book Club meeting. And definitely go to dressingroom8.com to see all my other live streams that I'm doing. There are plenty on deck, and I'll be adding more to the schedule. As you guys know I'm moving to Arizona, so there'll be some time where I make adjustments for that. So, but you know me, you know your girl, I'm still gonna be online. Don't ever feel like I've left you. I'm here, just gotta move crap. Move my whole life. But it's gonna be a fun adventure, and I hope to take you along with that. And have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you guys soon. All right, bye.